because I know exactly why you clicked on this video. You saw that title, to spit or to swallow, and you thought, oh my God, we're really going there today. And here's the funny thing, that little voice inside of you got curious, maybe even a little nervous, but you couldn't resist. And why? Because this question isn't just about the obvious thing that comes to mind. It's about something much deeper. It's about confidence, intimacy, and what it really means to own your choices when the heat is on. See, every woman at some point has asked herself a version of this question, not just in the bedroom, but in life. Do I take this in, make it mine and own it? Or do I let it go, push it away and decide this isn't for me? Think about it. This is less about him and more about you, because the truth is, intimacy isn't about technique. It isn't about what's expected of you. It's about how powerful, how sexy, how unapologetic you feel in your own skin when you make that choice. And I'll tell you this, nothing kills the mood faster than a woman doing something because she feels she has to. Nothing is less sexy than obligation. What is sexy? A woman who knows herself, who laughs in the moment, who doesn't shrink into the shadows of what will he think, but instead stands in the spotlight of this is me. This is how I roll. That's the real juice of this conversation. Not literally. Don't panic. I'm talking about the essence. Because the real spit or swallow question isn't physical, it's emotional. It's about whether you swallow your truth, hide your desires, and push your feelings down, or whether you spit out the fear, the guilt, and the people-pleasing and say, this is my choice, my body, my rules. So yeah, maybe you came here expecting some cheeky tips, and don't worry, we'll have fun with it. But what I really want to give you is something even sexier, the kind of mindset that makes a man stop, look at you, and think, damn, she's unforgettable. Because trust me, it's never just about what you do. It's about the confidence you bring when you do it. Let's really dive into the first and maybe most important point of this whole conversation. It's not about him, it's about you. Now, I know the moment we're in those intimate situations, there's this pressure that kicks in. That little voice goes, what does he want? What will make him happy? What's going to impress him so he doesn't think less of me? And before you even realize it, the entire focus has shifted from what makes you feel sexy and empowered to running a mental checklist like you're auditioning for a role in his fantasy movie. But here's the truth, when you start making intimacy about him, you shrink, you hand over your power. And ladies, nothing is more attractive than a woman who is unapologetically centered in her experience. Think about it. When you walk into a room and all your energy is going outward, is my hair okay? Is he into me? Am I doing enough? You immediately lose that magnetic presence. But when you walk in owning your space, grounded in your body and in touch with what you want people feel it, they're drawn to it like it's gravity. And it's the same in those intimate moments. If you're thinking, oh God, is he judging me? Should I do this? Should I do that? You're not present. You're in your head, and nothing kills connection faster than being in your head. Now, flip the script. Imagine you're in that moment, and instead of obsessing over what's going on in his brain, you're asking yourself, what feels good for me? What makes me feel powerful right now? What choice will leave me walking away from this moment feeling like I owned it? That's a completely different energy. That's when you stop performing and start experiencing. And trust me, he's going to notice the difference. A man isn't turned on by a woman who feels like she's ticking boxes on a to-do list. He's turned on by a woman who's lost in her own confidence, her own pleasure, her own power. And let's be real, if you're making choices in the bedroom just to please him, where does that end? Because if you start there, it bleeds into everything else. Suddenly, it's not just about intimacy, it's about your whole relationship. You're swallowing your truth in conversations. You're spitting out your dreams because you think they're too much. You're living in the shadow of what he wants instead of owning what you want. That's why this first point is everything. You have to flip the perspective. Instead of, does this make him happy? Ask, does this make me feel good about myself? Because here's the kicker, when you're turned on by your own choices, when you radiate that energy, he's going to be way more turned on than if you just do something because you think you're supposed to. Let me give you an example. Have you ever seen a woman dancing, not for anyone else, not to impress a crowd, but just lost in her own rhythm? She's not even thinking about how she looks. She's just in it. And what happens? Everyone watching suddenly can't take their eyes off her. That's the kind of energy you bring when you're centered in you. So the next time you find yourself in that spit or swallow moment, literal or metaphorical, pause. Ask yourself, am I doing this because I want to, or because I'm afraid of disappointing him? If the answer is fear, stop. Recenter. Remember, the sexiest thing in the room isn't what you're doing with your body. It's the energy of a woman who's living for herself. Because here's the secret nobody tells you. When you focus on what makes you feel confident, playful, and empowered, you end up giving him a better experience anyway. Why? Because you're alive in the moment. And nothing, not technique, not tricks, not even practice, can compete with that. Now let's move into the second point, and this one is huge. Confidence is always sexier than technique. See, so many women put unnecessary pressure on themselves to get it right. You know what I mean? Thinking, what if I don't do it perfectly? What if I mess up? What if I don't know the right moves? And suddenly, intimacy becomes like an exam you're terrified of failing. But let me tell you something, technique is overrated. Yeah, it matters a little, but not nearly as much as you think. Because here's the truth. Most guys don't remember the step-by-step moves you pulled out of a Cosmo article. What they remember is the energy you brought to the moment. Think about it like this. Imagine two scenarios. Scenario one, you've memorized every tip and trick, and you're focused on executing them flawlessly. But while you're doing it, you're stiff, self-conscious, constantly in your head thinking, am I doing this right? Is he enjoying this? Should I switch it up? You might be nailing the textbook technique, but your energy is nervous, hesitant, and disconnected. Now scenario two, you're not worrying about perfect. You're playful. You're laughing in the moment. You're confident in yourself. Even if you don't do everything by the book, you're focused on connection, on having fun, on letting your body and energy flow naturally. Which of those two do you think leaves a stronger memory for him? Exactly, scenario two every single time. Confidence has this magical quality. It makes everything hotter. You could literally do less, but because you're doing it with conviction, it feels like more. That's the power of energy. That's the power of presence. It's the same outside the bedroom too. Ever met someone who wasn't conventionally attractive but walked in with absolute confidence, and suddenly everyone was looking at them like they were the sexiest person alive? That's what confidence does. It turns ordinary into extraordinary. So how do you build that confidence? Here's the secret. You don't wait until you know it all or until you're perfect. You decide in the moment that your presence is enough. You shift the focus away from performance and onto connection. Instead of asking, am I doing this right? Ask, am I enjoying this? Am I present with him right now? Am I showing up fully as myself? When you focus on those questions, you naturally loosen up. You smile more. You tease more. You get out of your head and into your body. And ladies, that shift is electric. Here's another thing. Confidence is contagious. When you show up with it, he relaxes. He stops worrying about impressing you, about whether he's enough. And suddenly you've created a space where both of you can actually enjoy each other. That's when the magic happens. Not when either of you are trying to prove yourselves, but when you're both just lost in the fun of the moment. And let's debunk one more myth. A lot of women think men are sitting there with a secret scorecard, judging technique like it's an Olympic competition. Wrong. Most men aren't thinking like that. They're too busy being turned on by your energy, your sounds, your playfulness, your confidence. They don't want a performance, they want you. So here's the takeaway. Stop obsessing over being perfect. Stop stressing over technique. The sexiest thing you can bring into any intimate situation is your confidence. Own your body, own your choices, own your pleasure. When you do that, you automatically become unforgettable, because at the end of the day, no one's going to remember the technique, but they will always remember how you made them feel. And confidence, your confidence, is what makes those feelings unforgettable. All right, ladies, now this one is fun. Your choice is the foreplay. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean the actual decision you make. Whether you lean in or pull back, whether you say yes or no, whether you choose to go deeper or keep it playful on the surface, that decision in itself is part of the seduction. Think about it like this. The moment of choice builds more anticipation than the act itself. It's the pause, it's the hesitation, it's the way you look him in the eye, and he doesn't know if you're about to say yes or about to say not tonight. Darling, that moment is electric. It's the tease, the suspense, the not knowing. That's foreplay. Too many women think foreplay is just about physical touch. No, foreplay begins the moment you start deciding. And here's where the power lies. When you own that decision unapologetically, you're in complete control of the energy in the room. Imagine this, you're in an intimate moment, and instead of rushing, you pause, you smile, you take a breath, maybe you even laugh, and then you make your choice, whatever it is. That pause, that decision, that's hotter than anything you could do with technique because it's dripping with confidence. Here's the thing, when you make a choice and you make it with authority, you're showing him that you're not just going along with the flow, you're leading, and that is wildly sexy. Men are used to being the ones who decide, the ones who set the pace. When a woman flips the script and makes her own choice, playfully, confidently, suddenly the power dynamic shifts, and he feels that. Now let's be real, sometimes your choice is yes, sometimes your choice is no, and sometimes your choice is maybe later, let's keep this simmering. And all of those are sexy when you own them, because what's really unattractive is indecision. That wishy-washy, I don't know, maybe, okay, fine energy, that doesn't build anticipation, it kills it. But when you make a decision with clarity, when you own your eyes or your no, you turn the whole moment into foreplay. Let me give you an everyday example. Have you ever been out at a restaurant with someone indecisive? You ask, what do you want to eat? And they're like, I don't know, maybe pasta, or maybe not. What do you think? It's exhausting, right? But when someone looks at the menu and goes, I'm having this, that confidence is attractive even in something as small as ordering food. It's the same in intimacy. It's not about the choice itself. It's about the energy behind it. A confident no can be sexier than a hesitant eyes. Why? Because it builds tension. It shows you're in control. And tension is the spark that keeps things exciting. Now, here's the part that most people miss. When you treat your choices as foreplay, you stop putting pressure on yourself to be perfect later because you've already created the heat. You've already built the anticipation. By the time you say yes, or by the time you reveal where you stand, the connection is already sizzling. So here's your takeaway. Stop thinking of your decisions as a burden. Start thinking of them as part of the fun. When you choose, when you pause, when you tease, when you own it, that's you creating foreplay before anything physical even happens. And trust me, a man who's right for you won't just respect your choice. He'll crave the way you make that choice, because it's not the outcome that hooks him. It's the confidence, the suspense, the energy of a woman who knows she's in control of her own story. So remember, your yes is foreplay, your no is foreplay, your let's wait is foreplay. The real heat isn't in what happens after, it's in the decision you make right now and the way you own it. Okay, ladies, let's talk about something that doesn't get nearly enough credit in intimacy, playfulness, because if there's one thing that can completely shift the energy in the room, it's the ability to be light, to laugh, to not take yourself or him too seriously. Here's the mistake so many people make. They think intimacy is supposed to look like a movie scene. Perfect lighting, perfect moves, perfect timing. No awkward moments, no giggles, no real life interruptions. And the second something doesn't go according to plan, maybe a funny noise, maybe a clumsy move, the vibe just dies. But let me tell you, it doesn't have to. In fact, those are often the best moments if you allow yourself to be playful instead of panicking. Think about it, what's more attractive? A woman who freezes up, goes stiff, and thinks, oh my God, I ruined it. Or a woman who bursts out laughing, makes a cheeky comment, and turns the moment into part of the fun. Every guy in the world will tell you it's the second one. Every time. Why? Because playfulness is intimacy. When you can laugh together in a vulnerable moment, that's when the connection deepens. It shows you're comfortable with him. It shows you're confident enough to not take yourself too seriously. And it makes him relax too. Let's be real, intimacy is messy. It's unpredictable. Sometimes things don't go the way you imagine, but that's not the end of the world. That's real life. And when you meet those moments with a smile, with humor, with playfulness, you create something way hotter than perfection. You create authenticity. Here's a secret. Men don't remember the polished, perfectly choreographed moments. They remember the moments when you surprise them with your personality. The little wink, the mischievous laugh, the way you tease them out of their head and back into the fun. That's what makes you unforgettable. So here's the shift. Stop trying to be perfect. Start trying to be playful. Instead of stressing about getting it right, focus on keeping it light. If something awkward happens, don't cover it up. Own it. play with it. Turn it into an inside joke, because in that moment, you're not just creating chemistry, you're building connection. And this applies outside the bedroom too. Think about dating. Playfulness is magnetic. When you can banter, when you can tease, when you can laugh at yourself, you immediately stand out. It's refreshing. It makes people want to be around you. Why? Because you're fun. You're easy to be with. You're someone who doesn't turn every little thing into a crisis. Now, here's the truth. Playfulness doesn't mean immaturity. It doesn't mean you're not taking the connection seriously. It means you're comfortable enough to not let little things throw you off your game. It's confidence disguised as humor. And nothing is sexier than that. So the next time you're in an intimate moment and something unexpected happens, remember this: you have two choices. You can shrink, get embarrassed, and kill the vibe, or you can laugh, lean in, and let playfulness win. Because here's what I promise you: no man is lying awake at night thinking, whoa, she was technically flawless, but he is thinking about the woman who made him laugh, who kept it fun, who made the whole thing feel easy, light, and unforgettable. Playfulness isn't just foreplay, it's the glue that keeps passion alive. It's the spark that keeps things from going stale. And when you master it, you'll realize perfect is forgettable, playful is irresistible. All right, ladies, this last point is the one that ties everything together. Set the standard for respect. Because here's the thing: no matter how playful, confident, or adventurous you are, none of it matters if you're with someone who doesn't respect your boundaries, your choices, and you. Respect is the foundation of real intimacy. Without it, the sexiest moment can turn sore. Without it, your confidence feels shaky. Without it, your playfulness feels forced. But when respect is there, everything else becomes effortless. Now, let's be real. Sometimes we get caught up in the moment and we forget this. We think, if I just go along with what he wants, he'll like me more. He'll think I'm easygoing. He'll see that I'm fun. But here's the reality: any guy who only values you when you're ignoring your own boundaries isn't a guy you want to invest in. Because the right guy, he's not just turned on by your eyes, he's also turned on by your no. Because your no tells him you're a woman who knows her worth. Think about that for a second. When you set a standard, you're sending a clear message: this is who I am. This is what I accept. This is how I expect to be treated. And a man who's genuinely into you won't just accept that standard, he'll rise to meet it. Now, here's the sexy part. Respect is not about killing the fun. It's not about being rigid or overly serious. It's about creating a safe container where the fun can actually thrive. When you know you're with someone who respects you, you feel free. You feel safe to be playful, to be vulnerable, to explore. That respect is what gives you the confidence to let go. Let me give you an analogy. Imagine you're dancing. If the floor beneath you feels shaky, you're never going to fully commit to the moves. You'll hold back because you don't feel secure. But if the floor is solid, you can let go, move freely, and actually enjoy yourself. Respect in a relationship is that solid floor. Without it, everything else wobbles. And ladies, here's something powerful. The way you set that standard early on tells a man how to treat you long term. If you teach him that you'll compromise your boundaries just to please him, he'll take that as permission to push them again and again. But if you show him from the start that your respect is non-negotiable, he'll know that if he wants to keep you, he has to meet that level. Now, will every guy rise to the standard?
No.
And that's the point. The wrong men will fall away quickly when they realize you can't be manipulated. And that's not rejection. That's protection. That's the universe clearing the space for someone better. So here's your takeaway. Never be afraid to set the standard. Never be afraid to say, this is what I want, this is what I don't, and this is where I draw the line. Because the man who's right for you won't just respect it, he'll admire you more for it. And here's the irony. A lot of women think men will lose interest if they set boundaries. The opposite is true. The right men become more attracted, because nothing is sexier than a woman who values herself. So remember this: your confidence, your playfulness, your choices, they all become magnetic when they rest on a foundation of respect. Respect isn't the enemy of passion. Respect is the fuel that keeps passion alive. So let's bring it all together. We started with that cheeky question, to spit or to swallow, but what we've really been talking about is something much bigger. It's about how you show up in moments of intimacy, yes, but also in life. It's about remembering that it's not about him, it's about you. That confidence will always be sexier than technique, that your choices themselves create anticipation, that playfulness beats perfection, and that none of it works without a foundation of respect. When you own your choices, when you laugh in the moment, when you set your standards high, you stop being a supporting character in his story and start being the star of your own. And trust me, that's the kind of energy no man forgets. So the real question isn't spit or swallow. The real question is, are you going to swallow your truth, or are you going to spit out the doubt, the guilt, and the fear, and finally own your confidence? Ladies, if this hit home for you, if you felt that little spark inside saying, yes, that's me, I needed to hear this, then don't just click away and forget about it. Hit that subscribe button. Share this with a friend who needs the reminder, and drop a comment telling me which of these 5 points spoke to you the most, because you don't just deserve great intimacy, you deserve a great life, and it all starts with owning your power.